right, a very good afternoon to you. Glad to have you listening to us this Monday afternoon. It is a Monday Health Tonic Mother Care that comes to you on Armed Forces Radio 107.7 FM Abuja. And this is where we'll talk about issues concerning the health and well being of all mothers, children. Well, we also look at issues around men. My name is Chinya Rugo Chumba. I'm your anchor on the program. Now, what are we going to be looking at this Monday afternoon? Today on the program, we're going to be looking at issues around malnutrition, issues around breastfeeding. But let's start it this way. Reports from UNICEF says malnutrition is a direct or underlying cause of 45% of all deaths of under 5 children. Nigeria has the second highest burden of stunted children in the world, with a national prevalence rate of 32% of children under 5. An estimated 2 million children in Nigeria suffer from acute malnutrition. Now, health experts actually say that exclusive breastfeeding is actually one of the experiences that can reduce the chances of malnutrition in children and subsequently death in under 5s. Now, this they say is because the most important time in a child's life in nutrition issues is the first 1,000 days of a child's life, and this starts from conception, cutting across exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months, and introduction of complementary feeding till a child is 2 years of age. Now, on the program today, this is going to be our focus. We're going to be looking at malnutrition in children in the country, how to mitigate it, and how to bring in breastfeeding as one of the ways to reduce the chances of having malnutrition in children under 5. Well, I'm not alone in the studio this afternoon. I have a guest with me who is going to be doing justice to the topic, who's going to be talking to us about issues around malnutrition in the country, how we can go around it. She is Lilian Ajah-Mony, the Communication Officer for Civil Society Scaling Up Nutrition Nigeria, CS-SUNN. Lilian, good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having CS-SUNN in the studio.
All right. Now, when we say malnutrition, what exactly do we mean by malnutrition?
When we say malnutrition, malnutrition simply means a condition that presents itself because people do not consume the right quantity and quality of food that the body actually needs for proper growth and development. When people do not consume or absorb the right amount and types of food that the body actually requires. You have to consume some kinds and types of food in varied quantities for your body to be able to get the appropriate and adequate nutrients that it actually requires for development and growth. So when that does not happen, people, especially women and then children, come down with malnutrition.
Okay, now let's look at how malnutrition presents itself. I know from the statistics we have from UNICEF, we've talked about the issue of stunting, but let's look at the different ways that malnutrition actually presents.
Okay, malnutrition actually presents itself in 3 different forms.
Yeah.
It comes as undernutrition, it comes as undernutrition, but then we have overnutrition, and then we have micronutrient deficiencies.
Okay.
So when it presents itself as undernutrition, that is where you have stunting, which is a situation where a child or children that are under 5 are too short for their age.
Okay.
That is stunting. Then also undernutrition, it also presents itself as wasting, which is a situation where a child has low weight for height, and then it also presents itself as underweight, which is where you have a child that is too thin for the child's age. Then it presents also as overnutrition, where you have obesity and overweight.
Okay.
Then finally, it also presents as micronutrient deficiency, which is what we call, is popularly known as hidden hunger, where people, like, the body does not have the adequate vitamins and minerals that it actually requires for proper growth and development. So those are the various forms of malnutrition and the various ways that it manifests in children and women.
Now, it sounds quite interesting to imagine that we don't also just have malnutrition issues being the lack of, but overfeeding is also part
overfeeding
of it.
is part of it, tied to intake of junk food,
which in recent times is like the order of the day.
It's on the increase. There is this thing about people just feel that if you have money to go to eateries and then you eat lots of pastries, chicken and all of that, in quotes, I don't know, it's like for some people, you're just you feel if you feed that way, then it shows that you're on top of the world, like you earn money and all of that. But then we're doing more harm than good to our bodies, because we eventually come down with obesity, which is also linked to some form of non-communicable diseases like diabetes and the likes, high blood pressure.
Okay, now even though we also have some form of statistics that we're looking at, but let's break it down. What's the prevalence rate of malnutrition? How is it spread across the country?
Okay, basically they are going to speak to the National Demographic Health Survey of 2013. It actually states that 37% of children under the age of 5, it states that they are stunted, and then it goes further to say that 18% of such children too in Nigeria, under 5 children, are wasted. Now in 2008, stunting actually declined from 41% to 37%. In 2008, it was 41%. The country's stunting rate was at 41%. But in 2013, it declined to 37%. Yes. But wasting increased from 14% in 2008 to stated that 10% of children between the 6 and 23 months of age, that they were not fed appropriately. So it's really a serious issue. It's a challenge. That's the magnitude of the problem.
Okay, now let's look at some of the factors that can drive malnutrition. What are some of the factors that we see in the country affecting us?
Okay, we have immediate causes, that immediate drivers, and then we also have the basic drivers, and then we have the underlying causes of malnutrition. There's a UNICEF conceptual framework that actually broke down the various causes or drivers of malnutrition into various stages or classes. For the immediate causes, we have inadequate food intake. Basically speaking, or putting it directly, what we call dietary diversification. When people do not eat the various types of food that they need, like in the layman's language, that's what we call a balanced diet. But professionally, it's referred to as adequate nutrition. So where dietary diversification is lacking, then that would lead to malnutrition. Let me make it more easier for us, or for the audience out there to understand. Like, you discover that sometimes in the north, they eat tuwo. Somebody can eat tuwo in the morning, eat tuwo in the afternoon, and then eat tuwo in the night, and then in the east we do more of fufu and all of that. So when there is no adequate intake of
like
various diets,
protein,
carbohydrates, vegetables, fruits, and all of that in the right when there is no dietary diversification, that's one of the causes. Then also infectious diseases. Infectious diseases actually leads to malnutrition too. Then there is an underlying cause. One of such underlying causes is food insecurity. That's for the country now. Is on a higher pedestal. Food insecurity, when there is inadequate maternal and child care, when our health care services are not able to offer the right form of nutrition education, it can actually lead to malnutrition. Then we have poverty too, failure in governance. Those are causes of malnutrition on a higher pedestal.
Okay, now let's bring it down to exclusive breastfeeding. Or before we talk about exclusive breastfeeding, now let's see how we can solve the challenges of malnutrition in the country. Already we're looking at a diversified range. When we talk of malnutrition, we're looking at the underfeeding, overfeeding, and micronutrient deficiency. So let's look at the solution. What's the solution to drive some of these issues?
Okay, I think the cheapest solution, like highly cost-effective solution to address malnutrition in Nigeria, it has worked for other countries like Ghana, is looking at and hinging on the first 1,000 days. When you were giving your introductory remarks, you talked about it. Yeah, exclusive breastfeeding in the first 1,000 days is very, very important and key, which is from when the child is conceived up until when the child the child's second birthday. Yeah, it's very, very important. It's very, very important, and it is like a preventive measure. It is not curative.
Okay.
It's a preventive measure. So if Nigeria is able to actually hinge on to the first 1,000 days to ensure that children are actually exclusively breastfed, it will help us to prevent malnutrition. And I'm going to break it down. What it means is that when a woman takes in,
okay, no. We'll still get to that issue.
okay.
But let's look at other issues. Now, this one you said is the preventive. For curative, do we have curative treatments for malnutrition as well?
Yeah, we have curative treatments for malnutrition, but it's like CMAM centers, community management of acute malnutrition centers for children suffering from severe acute malnutrition and all of that. But we advocate more for the preventive because it doesn't cost much. It's very, very cost effective, and it's something that, so why not go through something that you would have prevented? Why not prevent something that then allow it to happen and then begin to
curing.
Yes, and then you start curing, and then if you cure and you still do not take those adequate steps that would prevent us from having a relapse, it still comes back, and then you keep spending money to cure something that might come back. Because if you cure, where they give those children the RUTF and all of that in all of those centers, and then the mothers do not have, the families do not have enough monies in the pockets for them to feed well and all of that, and then in where their localities there are no adequate healthcare facilities for them to access and all of that, you'd always have a relapse. Yes, but when a child is exclusively breastfed, I think you've actually secured that child's future cognition wise, because when a child has high cognitive development, what it means is that the child will do well in school.
We'll come back to the issues around exclusive breastfeeding. But before then, just to let you know, if you're just joining us, that the program is Mother Care. It's coming to you on Armed Forces Radio 107.7 FM Abuja. And I also want to inform you that we're streaming live at www.facebook.com/Armed Forces Radio 107.7. I'll take it again, www.facebook.com/Armed Forces Radio 107.7. You can also listen to us live at www.mixlr.com/AFM Radio -2. Now, this program is actually audience participatory, so it means that at some point we are going to be opening the phone line so you can join the conversation. You can ask your questions, you can tell us your suggestions and talk to us as well. But before then, we'll still continue with part of the issues that we're looking at today, which is the issues around malnutrition, how to mitigate malnutrition, the implications it has in our country, and the solutions to it. I still have in the studio with me Lilian Ajah-Mony, the Communication Officer for Civil Society Scaling Up Nutrition Nigeria, CS-SUNN. Okay, now Lilian, let's get really into exclusive breastfeeding. I didn't want you to go further into it till we finish our analysis. When you say exclusive breastfeeding, what do we mean by exclusive breastfeeding, so someone understands?
Okay, exclusive breastfeeding is feeding an infant breast milk only when the infant comes forth up until when the child is 6 months of age,
Yeah.
without any addition of water, without any other food, without any giving supplements, without giving any form of substitute rather,
Yeah.
or any medication except as prescribed by a medical personnel. Now, when I say when the child comes forth, exclusive breastfeeding is broken down into stages. There's what we call early initiation.
Okay.
That's the first step to the practice of exclusive breastfeeding. That is putting the baby at least 1 hour. Like, when I say at least 1 hour, like, you
After
don't go
delivery.
beyond. Yes, after delivery, putting that baby to breast.
Okay.
1 hour. Before 1 hour exceeds, when the baby comes forth, you're putting the baby to breast to ensure that the baby suckles, begins to suckle, and then takes in the colostrum. And then that's early initiation, and then you continue breastfeeding that child, giving breast milk only without water, or you don't add any other thing. The woman eats well, like we've been talking about adequate nutrition, and then ensures that she takes lots of fluids.
Now, let me take you to what you mentioned, colostrum.
Yeah.
That's something that a lot of women don't understand. That's something that I've heard cases where women express and throw away that breast milk. Can you explain in details what colostrum really is and how women should go about it?
Okay. Yeah, there are lots of myths and lots of misconceptions around this colostrum. But then it's so unfortunate that most of our mothers out there are not aware that this colostrum is actually like the most important milk that the baby needs. The colostrum is, the best way to describe is the yellowish in color.
Yeah.
It's actually the first milk
that
comes out.
It
Yes,
it doesn't look whitish.
It doesn't look whitish. It looks, in fact, I've had some persons, or for my engagements with mothers and all of that, some people describe it as dirty milk. When you see it, you think that's dirty milk, and then they've had to pour that away. Some people like, allow it to, after it flows, then before you begin to suckle. No, that's a very, very big myth. It's yellowish in color.
Yeah.
And then it flows depending on the woman's body and her, depending on her body makeup and all of that. For some women, colostrum will flow for like either maybe a week, or at most a week, because as it flows and then as the day goes by, as the child grows, at the days, at the breast lactation advances, then the coloration
will start changing.
Yes, and then the real milk, which we know in quotes, now begins to flow. So what happens is that when that baby comes forth, the baby is supposed to be put to the breast to suckle and then to take in that colostrum, because it is the first immunization for that, the first vaccination rather for that child.
Yeah.
The colostrum contains a lot of nutrients that the body actually requires to fight lots of diseases and infections. You know, when the baby comes forth, the baby is just out from the womb, and then when it takes in that when the child takes in the colostrum, it has a lot of benefits for the child. So when women pour the colostrum away, or when they wash it out, when the child does not take in the colostrum, the child is even prone to coming down with lots of infectious diseases. That is where we say that the practice of exclusive breastfeeding actually begins with that early initiation that would enable the child taking the colostrum. So we're using this medium to teach mothers, to encourage them. We know there are lots of traditional beliefs that is tied around. Some grandmothers in some cultures, they will say that it is dirty milk. Some would even express and pour it away. Please, no. What we're trying to say, what we're telling you is that that milk is the most important milk that that baby needs. Okay. It is good milk, it is not bad milk, and the baby needs it to be able to grow and develop properly.
All right. Now, when we also talk about exclusive breastfeeding, you said there should be no water, nothing added up until 6 months. Now, after 6 months, because we're talking about the first 1,000 days
Yeah.
of a child's life. So after what the mother eats and then the exclusive breastfeeding, complementary feeding, what happens in complementary feeding?
Okay, in complementary feeding, what happens is that the child begins to take adequate nutrition alongside breast milk. When I say adequate nutrition, like for adults or for older persons, what we take is adequate nutrition that is tied around dietary diversification. So what it means is that the mother begins to patiently introduce the child to the normal foods that we take, that we eat. So there are different ways. For instance, you don't expect a 6-month-old child to begin to eat yam. But the child will eat mashed yam.
Okay.
Some people actually puree. When they say puree, like where you prepare food and then you blend or then mash properly so that the child is able to take and it. Then since at that point they are still in the process of teething and all of that. So you begin to introduce. It takes a lot of patience, because sometimes you hear mothers complain that the child does not want to eat, the child is stuck to breast milk. No, it takes a lot of patience. You begin to introduce those adequate food little by little, one at a time. You could mash fish and feed the child. You could mash potatoes, carrots, beans, and all of that. Beans. But then most times they encourage mothers to peel off the back coating of the beans, because the child is still too tender at that age, and like beans has lots of protein. Encourage protein. Beans is very, very proteinous. It's actually very, very good for children. So you begin to introduce those foods to the child. Pap, you prepare various, and then when you prepare them, like, they have to be very, very soft. You have to mash in some cases. But while administering those foods, you continue to breastfeed up until when the child is 2 years of age. So what it means is that
this is a tradition.
The child is supposed to suckle and then eat alongside till the child gets to 2 years.
This is a lot of tradition we don't see in Nigerian mothers. You see a lot of women by 9 months they stop breastfeeding. By 10 months, by 1 year they are tired. In fact, some people, if they try up until a year, 2 months or 3 months. What do you have to say to this?
I want to encourage mothers, not what I have said. I want to encourage them. If you were able to breastfeed up until a year, you were able to continue up until a year and 3 months, then adding up 7 months to it, it should not be. And do you know why it shouldn't be a lot of stress? If you are to check, like, if you understand the benefits, what breastfeeding that child exclusively will do for the child, do for you as the mother, the family, and then the country at large, then you would really want to. So we know it's not easy for mothers, sometimes too, for working mothers especially. And then somebody will be like, this child has teeth all around the place. What am I doing? Breastfeeding is going to bite and all of that. But that's the if you're to exclusively breastfeed your child, that's what it takes. The child has to suckle. So we want to encourage mothers to just try and suckle the child, because it has lots of benefits.
Now, what are some of those benefits when you say breastfeeding a child has benefits? So for a woman who's listening, why should I breastfeed my child up until 2 years?
Okay. For the woman out there who is listening, you should exclusively breastfeed your child, because one, it helps to improve the child's cognition. A child who is breastfed would have a good cognition, actually high IQ, but a child who is exclusively breastfed is going to have a higher IQ than the child. So what it means is that if your child is exclusively breastfed, that child, in fact, research has shown that And then I think we also have real life experiences
Yeah.
to speak to and then to attest to these facts. It's been established. What it means is that that child that is exclusively breastfed is going to do far more better in school. So it helps in improving cognition, and then like I talked about the colostrum, it helps to prevent lots of childhood diseases in children, diarrhea, pneumonia, respiratory tract infections, and all of that. In fact, I'm going to use my son as an example. Yeah, he's going to 7. He was exclusively breastfed. You know this thing that mothers complain of when the child is teething, the child is stooling, vomiting. In fact, I didn't even know. The only thing that made me to, something is wrong. It's like this child won't start eating was that he was drooling
saliva.
Saliva and spittle. So that's the only thing you say. In fact, there was no fever, nothing, no, he didn't purge, he didn't stool, there was no vomiting. And all of a sudden one day just and then we saw the tooth, and then the others are coming out. There is no fever, nothing. And then there's also a colleague of ours too. In fact, the child has not gotten up to 6 months, and then all of a sudden the teeth are already out. But this is something that's on a normal day. You would see children stooling, they'll be looking so thin and all of that. So it has lots of benefits health wise, and then it has benefits too for the mother. If you exclusively breastfeed your child, research has shown that you are not likely to come down with breast or ovarian cancer. So if you're a mother that is breastfeeding, so imagine that you stay for 2 days, say a 4 months or a 3 months old child, and then the child doesn't suckle. Only the heaviness of the so it prevents ovarian and breast cancer in women, and then it also helps to retract the uterus. There are lots of benefits for the family. It helps the men to retain lots of monies in their pockets.
You're not buying formula for the first 6 months.
You're not buying formula. In fact, the utility bills, because if you have to if you're not exclusively breastfeeding and then you have to feed the child using formula and all of that, you should know that you keep the utensils neat. People use hot water, and then you have to use hot water to prevent boil and then do a lot of things. So that's the utility bill there going. And then for the country, it has lots of benefits. It will help to contribute to the country's GDP. Because if our children are exclusively breastfed, what it means is that we have very intelligent children who would go to school, do well, do good, come out with good grades, and good jobs. Yes, and then even compete with our counterparts in other countries where you have high technology and innovations and all of that. And then you see that we're having a powerful workforce that it's really putting out what they should, that would bring back to the country's economy. So it has lots of benefits.
All right, if you're still there or if you're just joining us, the program is Mother Care, is coming to you on Armed Forces Radio 107.7 FM Abuja. And just to let you know also that we're streaming live on Facebook at www.facebook.com/Armed Forces Radio 107.7. I still have Lilian Ajah-Mony, Communication Officer, CS-SUNN, with me in the studio. I told you that this program is audience participatory. At some point we'll be opening the phone lines, and we have come to that point where we'll let you into the program, have you ask your questions, have you make your suggestions, seek clarifications for things you don't understand. You've listened to issues around malnutrition and breastfeeding, the role breastfeeding, especially exclusive breastfeeding, plays in mitigating malnutrition. Now, for you to join the conversation this afternoon, the number to call is 0802 600 7418. 0802 600 7418. That's the number you can call to join the conversation. But you can also send us a text message, and the number to send your text to is 0806 396 3643. 0806 396 3643. Now I'll have the first caller for today. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Debbie. I'm calling from Kakulang.
Your name is?
Debbie.
Laddie.
Debbie.
Daddy. Okay, Daddy, where in Kaduna are you calling from?
Zaria.
Zaria. How is Zaria this afternoon?
Alright, fine, maybe.
All right, go ahead, Daddy. Ask your questions or talk to us.
Okay. You said a child that is exclusively breastfed has more advantages than children that are not. What is in cases where the child is born like out of care and then the mother is not able to breastfeed immediately and then they just have to treat the child with something else and the mother just continues exclusive breastfeeding afterwards?
All right. Thank you so much. Is that all the questions that you have?
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Daddy, and thanks for joining us all the way from Zaria in Kaduna. 0802 600 7418. That's the number you can call. All right. Maybe we'll just take some calls and then you respond to. So you might just be taking note of the questions. Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. Good afternoon. What's your name and where are you calling from? Hello. Sorry, we didn't hear you. What's the name?
We are from Bayelsa State.
Mia.
Hello?
Did you say Williams? Oh, too bad. And that was a call all the way from Bayelsa. Please try and call back. Would love to talk with you. Unfortunately, we didn't get that. I think we also have a text message here. Okay. Please let the presenter answer why we should breastfeed for 2 years. Did you do it? Okay, just take note of that while we'll take another call. Hello, good afternoon. Hello? Yeah, good afternoon. What's your name and where are you calling from? Helen, calling from where? All right, Helen, where in Nasarawa? Hello, Helen. Yeah, go ahead, Helen.
Okay. No, why is it not something? I do not want to.
Can you be more audible so we'll hear you? Hello, Helen.
Yeah.
Yeah, please speak louder. I love the way you answered. Can you use that pitch and talk to us? Let's get to hear you. What's your question?
I'm thinking that why is it not contact? Do not contact pregnant. What is she doing?
Okay. Thank you so much, Helen, for that. I think that's a very important question that Helen asked. She said, if in the process of breastfeeding, a woman gets pregnant, what does she do? All right. Maybe you just respond to these 3 issues before we take more calls.
Okay. Thank you so very much, Daddy, for
Daddy.
for calling. Okay, you asked if a mother can continue exclusive breastfeeding if at some point after delivery
Yes,
she introduced something else was introduced to the child.
Exactly, like some women give birth maybe through CS or whatever be the reason why the child. There's some women that will tell you that the breast milk is not flowing.
Yeah. Okay. And it's so unfortunate that if at any point something else is introduced, like I said earlier, even if it is water, except medication as prescribed by a medical personnel, then it is no longer exclusive breastfeeding. That is why
So does it mean that that child, you can't say, okay, must you now formula feed that child if the mother gets herself and now wants to exclusively breastfeed that child?
If you can formula feed the child before the mother recovers, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
That if, for instance, like women that put to bed through cesarean section, and then they now formula feed the child and all of that before she recovers fully.
Yeah.
When that is done, then it is no longer exclusive breastfeeding.
So
it is no longer exclusive breastfeeding.
The woman is not encouraged to exclusively breastfeed.
the woman is encouraged
to continue with the breastfeeding.
The breastfeeding, yes, but what I'm trying to say is that the exclusive breastfeeding thing now has been broken as a result of that. But we've had cases where women, because of their health status and all of that, okay, for instance, what of where we have where after putting to bed and then maybe the mother dies and all of that.
The child will still be
people, you can give substitute, but the challenge with substitutes and why we don't advocate for it is because we don't follow, most Nigerian mothers, probably because of poverty or money per se, we don't follow the exact instruction given by the manufacturers on the tin. You know, you have specific scoops and all of that. So when you don't follow that particular measurement, the child begins to come down with malnutrition, because what it means is that you've watered down the nutrients. So and then because sometimes if you have to follow those measurements, what it means is that maybe a child might be taking a tin of milk in 3 days. And I know that some of those formulas are sold for as much as, there's one that is sold for 9,000 plus. So do that mathematics and see. So that's why we just encourage women to say, give this free gift that is not expensive. What it takes is just for you.
Okay, yeah, but I just want you to clarify something. In a situation whereby when the mother recovers, the mother now wants to give only breast milk, even though it's no more exclusive breastfeeding because it's been broken.
Yeah.
But the mother wants to give breast milk without complementary formula feeding.
She can.
Okay.
She can, yes.
So she can decide to now breastfeed the baby.
Yes, she can decide to now breastfeed. Yeah, she can.
For 6 months.
Yes, she can. But then that will not be termed EBF. But the baby will still get the benefits and all of that, yeah.
All right.
She can.
Daddy, I hope that answers your question very well. Now we have Helen.
Okay.
Helen, who said where a mother gets pregnant in the process of breastfeeding, what happens?
Yeah, we've had some women, because some people, while you're exclusively breastfeeding and all of that,
fertility comes back.
Yeah. For some persons, the menstrual flow does not come, but that the menstrual flow does not come does not mean that you're not ovulating and all of that. Yeah. So we've had such cases. So we say it depends on the family, even if women are encouraged to do adequate child spacing, because it has lots of benefits. So in cases where that happens while breastfeeding and the woman takes in, it's for the home to go back and sit to talk and discuss, sometimes also depends on how old the child you cannot have a 2 or 3 months child and then if you're taking, how do we manage the situation?
Well, I've also heard doctors who say that even if a woman is pregnant, a woman can still breastfeed the baby while she's pregnant, except the pregnancy is disturbing the woman.
That's why I said that on some occasions it depends on what the family decides.
Okay.
We've had cases where women take in and then they still breastfeed and then have the other baby that has been conceived. So it depends on, sometimes it also depends on how old the child that is being breastfed is.
Okay, we have the third one. Someone asked the question, well, incidentally, you didn't put your name or location in the text message. They said, why would you say 2 years? I think we've talked about this, but you might just address it briefly because we still have so many other calls that we need to take. Okay. And then she's asking whether
I will.
All right.
I will. I'm in the process. Yeah, that's my first child. So if I advocate for it, I should and I will, because I've seen for myself what this does. Yes, the benefits. So I'm encouraging you to, because like I said earlier, it has lots of benefits. Your child's cognition. I wouldn't know, the person that sends that text, maybe you should just give it a trial with a child if you have one now, and then compare with the other children that you didn't, and then maybe you subsequently you call into this program
and tell us what the experience is like.
Yeah, it has benefits. Yeah.
All right, the number is 0802 600 7418. That's the number you can call to join the conversation. 0802 600 7418. And you can still send us a text message. If you can't call in, you can ask your question via SMS. The number is 0806 396 3643. 0806 396 3643. That's the number to send your text message to. But the number to call in and ask your questions or to join the conversation this afternoon is 0802 600 7418. We had a call and we just lost that call, so please call back. Another caller. Hello, good afternoon. Oh, all right. We still lost that. 0802 600 7418. Mother Care is the program this afternoon, and we're talking issues around malnutrition and breastfeeding as a way to mitigate it also. Hello, good afternoon. Yeah, good afternoon. Please speak louder. Tell us your name and where you're calling from. Okay, you're calling from Lube. Your name is Joseph. Yeah. Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Now, Joseph is still asking the same question about a woman who gets pregnant in the course of exclusively, in the course of breastfeeding a baby and getting pregnant. We'll still come to that. Let's still take other calls. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, afternoon.
Yeah, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Abigail from Masaka.
Abigail, go ahead, talk to us.
Okay, as a nursing mother, after giving birth, and you have the intention of exclusive breastfeeding,
Yeah.
and the baby fell sick, and you were not able to do that exclusive breastfeeding, so she was based on drugs. You don't have any effect on her?
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Abigail. 0802 600 7418. That's the number you can call to ask your question. Okay, you might just want to. Oh, let's still take this other call. Hello, good afternoon. Hello. Hello, good afternoon. All right, please call back. Now, maybe you want to react to these two questions.
Okay, let me speak to Abigail. Abigail, thank you for calling in from Masaka. Now, your question was tied around if you have the intention to exclude breastfeeding and the child falls sick and then you give medication.
There's an introduction of medication.
Yes. Like I said earlier, if that medication is given as prescribed by a medical personnel, a doctor, either in a primary health care facility near where you're staying or the hospital where you gave birth to that baby, give the medication and then still give breast milk. Yes. And we want to encourage you that maybe when you have your next baby, I was talking about that colostrum, it helps to prevent children from becoming ill. After you have your baby, say maybe between 30 minutes to 1 hour, tell the nurses, tell the midwives to bring the child to you. Just, you might not be very strong, but put the child to breast. If you've had some other children, you notice that yellowish milk that used to come out first. If any of your child or if all of your children taking that yellowish milk, they will not fall ill. It is it is like the first vaccine. So if the medication was prescribed by the doctor, then you can also continue with your EBA if you're exclusive breastfeeding.
Before you take the other one, let's take another call. Hello, good afternoon. Yeah, what's your name and where are you calling from? Okay, too bad. All right.
Yeah, okay, and then Joseph, right?
Yes.
From Lube. Thank you for that question. Like I said earlier, women can be pregnant and then still continue breastfeeding, but we encourage women to give adequate child spacing, which is tied around family planning.
Yeah.
So when you have that kind of condition or situation, I beg your pardon, what you should do, you should report to the
go back to your doctor.
Yes, go back to your doctor and then consult with him. If the pregnancy is not going to have any effect on the child that is suckling, and then you have the resources and the wherewithal to also have the latest baby coming on board. Why not?
All right, we still have just very little time on our hands. Someone sent a text message here said breastfeeding business located.
No, I am a fan of the people of Transit Limited.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Chukwudi. Please go ahead.
Please, I want to ask this question. Is it normal to give a child under 2 months milk, breast, and hot water at the same time? Is it still exclusive?
When you talk of milk, you mean we understand if we can be giving the milk and breast milk at the same time. That's what you're asking.
Yes, and hot
What?
water.
Hot water or warm water
Just
or room temperature?
warm water, lukewarm water.
Okay, all right.
Yes. My question is this still exclusive?
Okay, Mr. Chukwudi, no, it's not exclusive.
Okay.
Exclusive means that
It's
you
not
give
exclusive.
only breast milk, and there is a lot that your wife can eat that will enable her to produce lots of breast milk. If she eats adequately and then takes lots of fluids, there are different foods that produce breast milk. So once formula is introduced or water, it is no longer exclusive.
All right.
It is no longer exclusive.
So Chukwudi, I hope that information comes in handy. And they usually say that a baby's stomach is as small as a walnut.
Yes, I was even going to come to that. So just imagine that, for instance, now as an adult, you have a bowl of rice, and then you take two bottles of water before you eat the bowl of rice. Where would the rice enter? So it's the same thing that happens with breast milk. When you give water and then other things, the stomach doesn't even have any space again for the breast milk, and then breast milk contains over 80% of water. It has enough water in it.
Especially at the beginning side, is more of the water.
Yes, the form milk that comes out, the first one that comes out is very light. The color is milkish. Then there is the hind milk that comes out that is thick, which is what contains the food that actually holds the baby. So
okay, let's attempt to take this. Our time is already far gone. Hello, good afternoon. All right, you have only 30 seconds. Tell us your name, your location, and straight to your question.
My name is
Okay. Okay.
I just want to comment your guest there. I think I am a living witness to that.
Okay.
And I also encourage speculate to know that actually the son she is, for example, is my son. If they are taking some youth and then I want to encourage them to keep doing it without the youth.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Kafo. I think that's a perfect way to end the program. Now we have a father, a husband who called in to say, I'm a living witness that exclusive breastfeeding works. Thank you so much for calling in and wrapping up the program for us on that note. We're still having more calls, but we're so sorry that we're not able to take all of these calls. We'll do that same time next week. Thank you so much, Lilian Ajah-Mony, Communication Officer, Civil Society, Scaling Up Nutrition Nigeria, CS-SUNN, for coming.
Thank you so very much for having us. Pleasure.
And thank you to all those who called in. Sorry for all those who are still calling in, who have questions to ask. Maybe we're going to find a way to extend the platform where the conversation continues, maybe on a social media platform, or we can continue and we can bring answers to your questions, even though the program is over for the day. That's why we're going to be wrapping it up on Mother Care this Monday afternoon, talking malnutrition and exclusive breastfeeding. I am Chinyerugo Chimoba. We'll do the same time next Monday, where we're going to talk about another important health issue and address it. Do have yourself a pleasant Monday.